I get hype for the 4th of July ahead of time, really far out, you know? Get great barbecue, you know? It's the country's birthday and everything, you know? It's the only time as a guy you can look up at the sky and be like, ooh, sparkly, yes. You still have to hide it behind machismo, like, yeah, it's sparkly, but it's blowing up, all right? Anybody can get it, shots fired, okay? You know, 4th of July is just a straight pride parade. That's all it's ever been, you know? It's just the one time a year guys get to be like, yeah! It's basically, don't act like it's not drag just because you put on a longer beard. Like, you dancing in the street too, you know? That's why I'm always blown away by people who complain about pride and they're like, there's no straight pride parade. I'm like, yours is coming up in a month. Like, you can't give it 30 days. Even when you think about it too, you think about the way that the country came together too. We think of the founding fathers as all these old wise men and everything, because that's when they got painted. You know, they got painted late. They had already survived the war by the time we painted them. When they were in the war, they were much younger. We got the pains when they were like 40. But they fought in the war. You think they were fighting in the war old? You know what I mean? Like, yo, you think Washington was in the war like, get 'em, boys? No, y'all shoot. Oh. No, these were young men. Young men battling to create a country, you know? And it's mind-blowing how young they were when we won. You know, July 4th of 1776, Alexander Hamilton was in his 20s, early 20s. So was Aaron Burr. You know, some of the oldest people, I think even Washington was like only 40 or something. And that's just, it should be a testament to the fact that sometimes, you know, as much as young people don't always know the way, they have the energy to go the furthest, you know? So sometimes it's important to let young people lead and old people guide, you know? I think that's how you you know, because there's someone that has all the passion, all the fire in their heart to do something, to try to build a better world, and then there's someone behind them that doesn't have as much of the fire anymore, but is like, don't trip over that rock. Just go a little bit more left and you'll be fine. Don't do what I did. That's how I messed up my knee, though. No. Founding fathers they're fascinating to me because, you know, they were trying to carve out an ideal into making it, you know, making it substantial, making it real, making it a country and everything. But there were still some pretty deep. I don't know. It's a hard thing to write down. You know, all men are created equal, and then look over and be like, yeah, except. Yeah, I mean. So it's a dream that took time, still takes time, still hasn't been fully realized in the way that it's at least on the paper. You know, like sometimes people have this revisionist history about the founding fathers, like they would have wanted the best for everyone and for all of us to get along. And I'm like, no, they said what they meant. Do you know what I mean? Like, the founding fathers didn't have slaves, but also be like, one day someone will right this wrong. You know? But I think about how even, you know, people know more about Alexander Hamilton now because of the musical and stuff. But Hamilton, you know, staunchly against slavery and everything, and he was young, so I'm sure he was like this young kid that people looked at like, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. He just talks a lot, you know? And it's funny how we know about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr's feud mostly because of the musical, but we don't know how petty it got. Alexander Hamilton built a home in New York City, right? And Aaron Burr used his money to build a home down the street because he was jealous of where Alexander's home was, so he built the house pretty close by so that I guess Hamilton could see him hating from down the street. Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr were the original Kendrick and Drake. Amazing. I also get excited for the summer. I get excited for July because it usually means, at least for some years, that Will Smith has a new movie out. And it's happened. Bad Boys is out. It's crushing the box office, you know. Just Will Smith slapped all the money out of Hollywood. Man, I want them to make as many Bad Boys movies as possible. I want to see these men old. I want there to be so many Bad Boys movies that after a while you're like, boys? I want them to make so many they gotta change it to Bad Unks, you know? As I'm getting older, I realize this year that all of my close friends are either in or closely approaching their 30s. And it's so funny because, you know, everybody 30 and up, when people turn 30 now, they call themselves old, which is insane to me. That's so, like, medicine is getting good enough where you can kind of expect to live to 90, but you're old at 30. Why would you be old most of the time? That doesn't make any sense at all. You don't bring home bread and then the next day go, it's pretty old. No, but I get how people feel that way. I really do, because what's happening is we know deep down, right? We have this obsession with youth, and everyone's trying to look young, be young, stay young, feel young, all this stuff like that. And it's mainly because, and I've said this before, it's mainly because we know how we treat older people. So we're more scared of that than we are getting old. What's wrong with getting older? You know more stuff. Why would that be bad, you know? But I get how people feel old at a certain time, because especially people who are in their 30s now, we're in a very specific time that hasn't happened, at least the way that it's happening to us, right? Because we were like coming of age at a time that was like a turning point for what feels like almost everything, right? Business gets done differently now, tech is different, every aspect of life is different, and we remember right before and as it turned and now. You know what I mean? Like if you're in your like 30s, if you're like 33 and up, you remember before Google. That sounds ancient. That's... Just to say before Google sounds like another century, because it was. I work with people that are younger than me. And I was explaining to someone, and I hate when I have to explain a thing that makes me sound older than I am, because they're a little younger. So then I had to explain before Google to them. And I sounded crazy. I sounded crazy to me, but I was there, so I know I'm not wrong. I sounded insane. I was like, no, because before Google, you had to just know. And if you didn't know, you had to ask somebody who you hope knew and was friendly And if they if they didn't know, you had to go online. We still had online. Don't do that. We still had online. So then you had to go online and you had to ask Jeeves. And then they were like, "What is Ask Jeeves? Like, what is?" And I was like, "Ask Jeeves is." It's like if Google was white. Like it's. And so you had to ask Jeeves, and if Jeeves didn't know, then you had to go to the library, and you had to ask a librarian. And if the librarian didn't know, they would give you a number with dots. They would give you a library is like a house for books. They would give you a number with dots, and then you would go trace the dots and the number to a book, and then you would read the book to see if the answer to your question was in there. And if it wasn't, you would just know a bunch of different stuff. You would know. A book is like a slow Kindle. It's like. Like you scroll with your finger, but it turns like there's something to turn with your finger. It's not, there's no screen. And then, if your question, what you've been looking for 6 months, yes, it takes a long time. So maybe cut your dad some slack, right? It used to be harder to know. Do you know how crazy you sound saying it used to be harder to know? That's not how I wanted to end it. I know I'm getting older because I'm getting genuinely more and more nostalgic for small things. Like not movies, not like like really small things about life. Like I miss growing up in the 90s. I think all of our appliances in the 90s were just better. They were just like top notch because not only did they last longer and they worked, but you could fix anything in your house by hitting it. Violence solves so much in the home. Growing up, all you need was some fists and some belief. And you could fix a whole house. Don't need to call a contractor or anything. Like if you had just any appliance, you know? And what was special about it was that you knew how to hit it. You knew how to hit yours. That's very important. It wasn't just you could go hitting something. Well, you got to know your machine and you knew how to hit it specifically to get it to work. And it wouldn't work when you went over to your friend's house. You go over to your friend's house and their thing wouldn't be working and you'd be like, and they'd be like, no, you gotta go. And you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I don't have that model. That's good to know. So when I upgrade, it's 2. Okay, that's good to know. And it's two towards the front. All right, that's good to know. It was a beautiful time. I just felt like things really worked. You know? Like a 90s washing machine. A 90s washing machine you could hear it all through if you were lucky enough to have a washing machine in your home, if you had a laundry room in your home, you could hear, no matter where you were in the house, because the washing machine would be whooping your clothes. No matter where you were in the house, as soon as you started the watch, you would hold off watching a movie. Because you're like, we can't watch a movie and do the laundry. That's not, it's gonna mess up the experience, all right? It would be whooping the state. You could hear your clothes getting beat. And they were all loud, and they all just, like, the washing machine moved like it had legs. No matter where you were in the house, you could hear your clothes screaming in the machine. Just, and you would go, whether it was your house or it was somebody else's house, you could go to somebody's house, you could tell how strong their washing machine was by how messed up the paint was on the wall, on that edge that was next to the machine. It would be beating your clothes, beating the stains out, horrific stuff, right? To the point where you could, even when you stained the shirt, you could tell, even back in the 90s, your shirts would be like, don't do that to me, bro. No, come on. Hey, no, we good? I'll push it out. I'll push the stain out. Don't send me in there with them. No, be amazing. And then if there was a little malfunction, if the door wouldn't lock and lips started coming up and everything, suds started spitting out everything, just took a little bam. And then all of a sudden it was like, it was beautiful, These new washing machines. I know I already sound like an old man, but this. I was at an Airbnb. They had a washing machine in the Airbnb, which at first I was very excited about. I was like, oh, it's amazing. You never get this, right? And the washing machine was state of the art, and it was like a Tesla washing machine. It had so many buttons. It had a keyboard's worth of buttons. It had more buttons than I cared to read. It was. I just wanted to hit clean. It had a handkerchief setting. It was insanity. And then you put got a stain on the shirt, put the clothes in, and then, you hit whatever, turn. There was a lot to do. And then you hit, and it starts, and you can tell something is happening because it's spinning, and you can see through it now. It has the little door where you can look in, and it's spinning so fast that the clothes are gone. I was looking at it, I was like, I can't tell if it's spinning or if it left. This is crazy, but it was silent, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was quiet the entire time, right? Just, but nothing. You couldn't hear anything, right? I didn't even know when the clothes were done. That would have never happened in the 90s. You always knew when your clothes were done because your washing machine would finish beating your clothes. And you would hear, because they used to put alarm clock stuff in the washing machine to make sure they made the same noise. This thing finished, I had no idea. It finished and it was like, hey. I don't want to disturb you, but I think I did it. And then I pulled the shirt out of the washing machine. The stain was so intact. The stain was sitting there comfortably. The stain was looking at me like it had its legs crossed. Looking at me like, your move. Even TVs. I remember we got a big screen TV, and it was a huge deal, but the TV was if I remember correctly, it was kind of like a hand-me-down because we got the TV because it wasn't really working as much anymore, so the people that were throwing out the TV were like, we're going to get a new TV, and we were like, we don't have a TV, so let's take yours, right? And it was huge. It took up most of remember the big 90s, tall, wide. Remember when TVs had ass? Do you know what I mean? Really had it, some true thickums. You know what I mean? You would go over to your friend's house, they'd be like, I got a new TV. You'd be like, oh, she packing. Oh, wow. I don't even understand. I don't even know why they made them like that, but it had it would be the screen here, but then just boom, boom. And And that was great because even though the TV didn't always work, you know, you knew how to work it, right? Because it would do that thing where all those TVs back then, when they didn't work, they would just get wavy. You remember that? It would be like, I'd put on the news and it would just be like red, blue, green, red, magenta, yellow. And you turn on the news and be like, at 8 o'clock. Because I was little when we got this TV, and I remember turning it on and it wasn't working. I was like, Mama, the TV ate a popsicle. And my dad would usually be the one to hit the TV because he knew how to do it, right? But my dad hit the he hit the TV a lot. My dad hit the TV so much, sometimes I was wondering if it was really about the TV. You know what I mean? Sometimes my dad would hit TV, I'm like, no, it was working. But my dad hit the TV so much that I think the TV genuinely learned to recognize, hey. One time I was trying to watch the news and my dad came home. That's all he did. He just came into the house and the TV was like, at 8 o'clock. As soon as he closed the door, it was like 2 people were murdered. And then I got a TV. I bought a TV for myself as an adult because I wanted to have my own big screen TV. I wanted to have my own, like, oh, I'm sitting at home chilling for the weekend, watching a movie, have a real experience for myself, right? And I bought it. It was too expensive. I took out a car note on this TV, this several payment TV, and you know, we bring it home. I'm excited initially. I'm super excited because you know they bring it home and they install it, they mount it on the wall and everything. Smart TV, brilliant TV, good grades TV, right? But I'm trying to watch this TV, and I want to be. I'm not like a dumb person, but like I cannot figure out. I cannot figure out how to get the subtitles off this TV, and it's like I can't stress how much this is not my fault. All right. I'm not like a dumb. Like I know I'm up here doing the jokes and we're all having a good, but I'm not a dumb guy. Like this is crazy. All right. And I want to be clear. I know that it's not the HBO subtitles at all because then I go to the settings at HBO and HBO is like it's not us. We're not the one to do it. But I'm trying to watch Dune 2, right? Trying to watch Dune 2 on this big screen TV. I turn on HBO. I'm watching and it gets to that part where like Timothy Chalamet doing that like Fremen language. So he's like, you know what I mean? Like whatever they say. And so then in the movie, they have subtitles for that part because nobody knows what they say, right? So then the movie, those subtitles come up. But then on top of those subtitles are these like nasty gray italic subtitles coming up, and I'm like, who is typing? That's not what I wanted at all, and I can't get it off, and it's great, and it was everything I watched. I would leave HBO, I go watch something somewhere else, and they were like, and that's not even as bad as when I first got it, because when I first got it, when I first brought the TV home, it had, I don't know how it happened, it had the audio description on. All right. Now, if you, some of you are familiar. So, if you don't know what audio description is, it's basically if you're watching it and you're visually impaired, it will give you both context for what is happening in the show and things that are more like stage direction. They're just happening silently, right? So then I don't know that that's on. I don't know. I didn't press anything. I just turned on TV. I hit on the TV. That's all I did. And so then I went to watch Law & Order SVU. All right. So now I'm watching Law & Order, and Olivia is like handing somebody their ass, right? Like she's just like, you don't know anything about Survivor, you don't know anything. And then she walks out of the room, and then as she walks out of the room, my TV is like, Olivia leaves the room, and I'm like, who is that? Who is that? Who is in here? And I went to the settings. I went to Peacock. I went into the settings, and the Peacock settings were like, it's not us. We're not doing that. I've used remotes all my life. I've all the time used the remote, and I pressed the remote was not remoting. Finally, it was off. I don't even know what I did. Maybe I didn't do anything. Maybe the TV just decided to stop doing it. I have no idea. But I was watching a different episode, and Olivia was once again handing somebody their ad. You don't know anything about Survivors. You don't know anything. And then she left the room, and I was like, because what can you do with this TV? What can I do when I can't get the subtitles on? You can't hit it. You can't hit it. I took out a mortgage on this TV. You cannot hit it. You used to be able, when the old TV, when I was little, I would play Sega Genesis connected to the back of the TV, right? And then sometimes Sega would be glitching up, which, translated for kids means the game was cheating, right? So then the game would be cheating, and so then I would get mad, and I would stand up, like 10 years old, and I'd stand up, and I'd punch the TV in its face. I would I'd punch the TV as hard as I could in what I thought was the nose, right? Like I would just, and I don't know what the TV was made of, but I would punch the TV and I would pull back the most mangled hand. Cause I don't know what it was made of, but it wasn't glass. There's no way it was glass. It had to be like clear steel or something. Cause the hand that I was pulling back, all my fingers had switched up and stuff. My thumb was in the middle. And now you can't punch a TV at all. You can't even dust this TV. You just gotta bargain with it. You used to be able to hit everything. The only thing you didn't hit back in the day was the microwave. And I feel like you didn't hit the microwave because then and now, we don't really understand how the microwave works. Yeah, I mean, I can always describe a microwave. If someone had never met a microwave before and they were trying to ask me what a microwave was, I'd be like, it is hot magic. Yeah, I mean, they put some hellfire to good use and just, it gets the soups hot when you put it in there. My grandma, when I was little, she had what I imagined was the second microwave ever made. Like it was one of the oldest microwaves I've ever seen, and it didn't make any sense. We would try to get her to get rid of it all the time because it was so old that the door handle for the microwave looked like a door. Like it just. And then the buttons, she had it for so long. This had to have been, maybe it was the first microwave. She had it for so long that all the buttons had faded. So you don't know what you're pressing. I don't know what's potato and what's two. Like, every time you put something in this microwave, it's a gamble, right? You don't know if you're hitting defrost, if you're hitting 9 or whatever. And so, there was one time that everybody was cooking in the kitchen, but I wanted to make some easy mac in a little cup, so I flipped it open, put the water in, tried to put it in the microwave. It was like dun 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 dun. Because I just had to go by feeling, because all the buttons were like outies. Does that make like all the buttons were poking out like. Go ahead, press me. Go ahead. Press me. I don't know what's gonna happen either. Press me. Let's do it. Do it. Do it. Now, I remember I pressed the buttons and put the easy mac, but there's so many people in the kitchen. I'm getting pressed up against the microwave, and I didn't hit it. I just was pressed up against it, and my whole face started to get hot. And I was like, y'all, this is leaking. I don't know. It is leaking magic in the kitchen. We need to evacuate.
It's Josh Johnson in 3D!
Ooh, I'm in 3D. Good popcorn.
I've lived in New York 10 years now. And in that time, there's been some truly amazing things that have happened. This is an incredible city to live in, you know, for the people who are from here to be from. And in those 10 years, a lot of horrific things have happened. Because this is a terrifying city to live in. Terrifying to be from. Like, I don't know who else has been mystery dripped on. Okay, in case you visited from out of town, I couldn't see everybody who's not from here. Look, mystery drip is when you are going about your day, you know, and you just walking, and then you feel something, and it hits you wrong. It's not. It doesn't. It's too far away from the building to be air-conditioned drip. But it's also not raining. And it's a little heavier than water. Like it hurt a little. You're like... And then you touch your head or wherever it landed on. And you pray you don't see what it is. You pray there's not a color to it. And then you wipe your face or your forehead and it's clear. Which is almost as bad. Clear is also terrifying. What is this, acid? The rest of the day, you spend the rest of your day thinking like, do I feel it? Do I feel it? Is there skin missing? You see people that day. You still have to go about your day. This is New York. No one cares you had a personal tragedy. So then you go about your day and you see people, you ask them, you try to test the waters because you don't know. You're like, hey, is there anything different about me? Because you don't know if the drip has affected, maybe it's changed the color of one of your eyes. You have no idea. And then they're like, no, and you're like, oh, thank God. No. Terrified. Because I grew up in Louisiana. That's where I was raised and went to college in Shreveport. And when I was in Shreveport, from the time that I started going to school there all the way until the summer after I graduated that I left, I would hang out in this area off and on, like Dalzell Street. And Dalzell Street had some very cool like house parties. There would be local bands would come, and there was one house that had turned themselves into a venue for like traveling artists and stuff. So it was a very cool place to go. It was also off and on a bit dangerous. Like a lot of cool things, you know. It was like, oh, okay, it's not the best neighborhood. And I knew a guy in passing who lived on Dalzell. And it was one night, I guess he really needed it. Every once in a while, life is a little too much, and you need to treat yourself or just take care of yourself. And his form of self-care was treating himself to a nice home-cooked meal. Not uncommon, right? But he treated himself to a nice home-cooked meal of 4 chili dogs. That's a lot of chili dogs. Like 1 is a meal. 2 is a bigger meal. 3 is concerning. And at 4, you're trying to eat away from something. Like you're running away from your problems with your mouth. At 4 chili dogs. This thing took him all night because he made the chili from scratch. He started making the chili in the afternoon. And then he even boiled the hot dogs himself. I don't know, that part was a little bit easier. Toasted the buns too. He was trying to make a night of it. And he sat down with his plate of 4 chili dogs. Got to work. enjoying himself, watching a movie, and at 2 chili dogs, he was kind of full, but he had made 2 more. And according to him, cold chili dogs are gross. So I guess I gotta stuff these chili dogs. So he ate the 3rd chili dog. 4th chili dog was a battle. 4th chili dog, he had to persevere. But he did. He finished all 4 of his chili dogs. Pushed himself to the limit. Maybe a little bit beyond his limit, because as soon as he was done, he had to run to the bathroom. I don't know if there was something wrong with the meat, but these chili dogs attacked him immediately. And so he was in the bathroom, fighting for his life. And as he's in the bathroom, truly at his most vulnerable, some people broke into his house. That's a tough one, because, like, what do you do? You're dealing with your own situation right now. You're already in distress, and now you hear the door slam open, you're like, I'm not expecting company. No, who could this be? And then you hear all of these Robin-type sounds. Oh, looks like nobody's home. Now what do? You just sit there listening to them. These dudes in his house, and they don't think anybody's in there, so they talking loud, critiquing him. They're walking around the house. Oh, it's a big TV. Wow, this is a nice model and everything. He got Gone with the Wind on DVD? And they're walking in, this was your night off, your night to yourself. So maybe you didn't clean up. They over here judging him out loud. Oh, this place nasty. Make you not even want to rob it. And so now he's just sitting on the toilet, praying that they leave. But he's still got 2 chili dogs in him. And so he's just sitting there, praying. Anytime I prayed on the toilet, it's been for very different reasons than somewhat. Yeah, I know what that's like, to be on the toilet, be like, Lord, look, if you just see me through this one time, I'm gonna turn everything around. I'm come right back to you. I'm gonna do right. So he's sitting on the toilet, and he hears them robbing him. He hears them, like, unmounting the TV from the wall. Just the sounds of construction as he's being robbed. With them commenting on his plates. It's like, why does the man got elephants-inspired places? And this guy's a loser. The whole time, you can't say anything. He's sitting there, as quiet as possible. And as these guys are moving out, they take the TV first. And TV, I guess, is heavy because they're over here making the moving grunt noises and everything. Like, pick up your side, pick up your side. And as they're conversing, go, pick up your side. He couldn't help it. He's still full of chili dogs. They stop and they're like, hey, wait, hey. Stop, did you hear that? And now he's very scared. Now he's like, oh God. He's trying to be even quieter. As quiet as he can. And he lets out another fart. He couldn't help it. It just happened. So then they were like, outside the door, he hears them, hey! Is somebody in here? Which is a crazy question to ask when you are robbing a house. You are mid-robbery. Imagine the audacity it takes to run up in somebody's house, but hey, I hope nobody home. We did a good job of casing this place. I hope you didn't break schedule. I hope there's not another burglar in here. What has this country come to when you can't burglarize in peace? And so now he doesn't know what to do. He's been found out. And he clearly can't keep quiet. And so then he yells out. It's like, yeah, somebody in here. It's impossible to sound tough on the toilet. That's never gonna happen. This man tried to hit all the bass in his voice, trying to be tough on the toilet. And then he said that he thinks, he doesn't know, but he thought he heard a gun cock. And so now he's terrified. Because the next thing they scream is, where you at? And I don't know why he said it. He doesn't know why he said it. But he yelled out right at the bathroom door, come find me! Sir, what is your plan? What exactly is your plan? That they will bust open the door and you'll turn around? Like, what? And so, because he had screamed from the bathroom like 2-3 times now, they basically put it together. And then dude who was doing the yelling for the group was like, you in the bathroom? Totally different dude. Dude, I guess next to him, ugh! He boo-booing in there. That's what we heard. Oh, you nasty. Once again, a wild thing for a burglar to say to you in your own home that they broke into. Oh, you're doing bad stuff in there. Oh, you need to get your life right. Gone with the Wind on DVD. They didn't know his name. And then, yeah, basically, they just proceeded to rob his house. There was nothing else he could do. He still had a chili dog in him. And so now all he just hears is the sounds of things leaving his home. As he screams, hey, stop stealing out there. Hey, cut it out. That's gotta be a tough position to be in, you know? Because then, you know, he finally finished up and they were gone. His house was in shambles and everything. And now what do you do? Now you have to call the police and tell them exactly how everything went down. You can't even give a good description. You just be like, he sounded 6'2", so look for somebody 6'2", strong enough to carry a TV with a partner. Yeah. Every once in a while something happens that is in and of itself like pure comedy. It's like a gift. A thing that happens that's like, it blows your mind almost. It's pure comedy. It makes you take a break from everything else that's going on, and it brightens your day because, once again, it is pure comedy through and through. This Afro Man trial has been pure comedy. Like, I haven't seen anything like this before. Maybe we won't see it after. This is crazy. All right. Okay. All right. Look. In case you don't know who Afro Man is, you have to come back with me to the year 2000. In 2000, this artist named Afro Man, apparently, I don't know everything that went into him almost being at the brink of quitting, but apparently he was about to quit making music. This dude went to a party and had a bunch of his music with him. It was physical back then. You could hand somebody music. It wasn't all in the air. You could hand somebody, I don't know. I hate telling people that are younger than me what life used to be like because they look at me like I am from 1645. Having to explain a CD to a person should be a hate crime against... It's ageist to have to explain what a CD is to someone who still has really good joints. It's like... it's infuriating. It's like their skin is tight and they don't know old technology. Infuriating. And so, yeah, he shows up at this party. He's got a bunch of his music with him, and he's straight up just giving it away. He's just handing it out. Just, here, you can have it. You know? And people took it, and one of the songs on the CD that he was passing out, maybe cassettes. Cassettes. Sometimes I had to explain a cassette tape one time, and I realized that I didn't even know how a cassette tape worked. They were like, why do they call it a cassette? I was like, because it's in a case. Because it's a case and it's little, like it's a cassette because it's in a case, but it's like a little case. And it's dainty. It's like a dainty little case cassette, you know, for respect because she's a lady, you know. So cassette, and then they put the tape in the cassette, and then there's teeth in the tape. No, it's teeth in the wheels, and then the thing you put the cassette player also has the teeth. But they're different. They're teeth. It's like a kiss. They kiss. They kiss and they spin in a circle, and then they spin in a circle. There's a little black piece of like cushion, I think, and then that runs across the tape. And I don't know where the sound comes from. I don't know why cassettes make noise. It sucks to be old and dumb. Like that. I think that's why we end up hating young people, because it's not just that you have to explain a thing from before. You realize you don't know how the thing from before worked. I don't even know how CDs work. That blew my mind before, during, and after, where I was like, why is this plastic disc making noise? There's no needle. In fact, if you scratch it, it stops working. But it has teeth, and so then the teeth kiss, and then you close it, and when you close it, it's supposed to make a slam sound, like a close hard. And then you hit play, and it plays. I don't know. You put it in the stereo. You know what a stereo is, don't you dare. They still have stereos. A stereo is a Bluetooth speaker before Bluetooth. Okay, back before blue or teeth, there were stereos. You're gonna give me a nosebleed. Stop asking me questions. Stop asking me questions. With your good ankles. Afroman was at a party. And he was giving away his music. I don't know if it was in CD form or if it was in cassette form. All I know is he was giving the music away. And one of the songs in the music he was giving away was what would become a classic, what would become a Grammy-nominated song. In the same amount of time that he was about to quit. Afroman is known for the song Because I Got High. Because I Got High is the anthem of anyone who's ever been late. No, Because I Got High, I don't know, it got passed around in a way that was so organic. It was back in a time where we just didn't have access to everybody or even the idea of having access to thousands of people at one time. It got passed around in a way that was like, I enjoy this, I hope you'll enjoy this, I hope you like it. And not only did they like it, they shared it with someone else. It was almost like predating social media, but exactly how social media would end up working. And it blew up. It really blew. People were singing it. People were living it. It became real life excuses. It just spread. Things that had nothing. I was gonna pay my child support. I swear I was. But I don't know. I got high. Forgot I had any kids. You can't remember everything when you're high. And so, Afroman became this like legend for this hit, Because I Got High. Fast forward to 2022, his house was raided. Now, his house was raided off of claims made by an informant. I didn't even know that this is kind of how the justice system works at all. I didn't know that like an informant can just say a bunch of stuff about you and the police will be like, really? That feels like a flawed system that, because here's the thing, it's not as if like Afroman is this like known criminal. So then for an informant to just inform on a person who's minding their business and then the police follow up on that and get a warrant from a judge to, that seemed wild. That could just happen to any one of us. Someone that you don't know. You could be doing this. Like you could do this. We all hate people. It's wild this doesn't happen more often. We know who we hate. Just make up a bunch of lies and be like, I just want to, as a concerned citizen. That's insane. And so basically this informant says that Afroman has a ridiculous amount of keys of drugs in his possession, right? And so police follow up, they get a judge to sign a warrant and everything. And look, if someone's accusing you of having a lot of drugs in your possession and you're known for one song above all others, not looking good. And then they even said that he was like a trafficker and that he had some people in his torture sex dungeon. Yeah. And so the police, they run up in there and they tear open his gate to his property. They knock down his door. They come in like AR-15s, like a full raid, because they're expecting to find like everything that was supposed to be at Diddy's house. And so they rip open the gate to Afroman's property, and then they bust down the door. Door goes flying, right? They rush in. They've got their guns and everything, and Afroman's not home. He sees what they're doing because he has these surveillance cameras that are all over his property and in his house, right? So he sees the police rush in, and there was one officer in particular. This officer rushes in. He's got his service weapon in hand. He's looking around in case anything druggy or sexual is happening. And then he walks through the kitchen. And you can see it on security camera. He notices a lemon pound cake And he doesn't just notice, he stares at it. Really looks at the lemon pound cake through and through. And it blew my mind because you're in a raid right now where you think keys of narcotics and a sex dungeon is on the property. Imagine it for Bad Boys 5. They had Will Smith and Martin Lawrence run up into a mansion that is, you know, full of drugs and sex dungeons, and then you see Martin Lawrence stop. Like, okay, look, I know there's drugs. I know there's trafficking happening, but look at you, Lemon Drop. How you doing? No. Because, look, I don't know what was going on in the officer's mind. I don't know what was playing in his head or anything. But he was looking at the pound cake like... What's a delicious thing like you doing in a place like this? You know what I mean? I could take you somewhere special. I could take you somewhere... I could save you. You don't have to live like this, all right? Because he looked at it, yeah, a little too long. Looked at the pound cake longingly and then moved on with the raid. And they tore up Afro Man's house. That's what happens in a raid. You're looking for stuff and they don't have to be gentle, so they're not. They can tear it up, and so they do. And so they tear up his house and going through his suits and everything. They even find his security cameras, and they cut the connection to him. Right? They find his cash that he has in the house. They take all of his cash that they find. And yeah, they end up leaving. But Afro Man was like watching the thing. He's just watching the whole time. Doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't know there's even an investigation into it. Because once again, he's not being charged with anything. He hasn't been arrested or something. They just ran up in his house. Apparently no knock warrant. That's crazy. And he's watching it. Maybe on his phone, maybe his laptop, I don't know. But he's just sort of watching them go through his house like, hey! Hey! He probably felt as powerless as somebody sitting on the toilet while their house was being robbed. They're like, hey, cut that out! What you doing? And the police, by the way, they don't find anything. They don't find anything. They don't even find any narcotics. Which for an artist who's known for a song, Because I Got High, is almost a little disappointing. It's like, all right, I don't know if you're really living the lifestyle then. They don't even find a sex dungeon with trafficked people in it because Afro Man's house doesn't have a basement. There was no... Yeah. Didn't look at a blueprint or anything. Just ran up in there. Where's the dungeon? Oh, Afro Man's furious, as you would be. These people broke into your house, busted down your door, ripped open your gate. You were minding your business. I think he was in Chicago for a show. And he wasn't there, but his family was. You know, his wife and kids there getting like AR-15s pointed at him and everything. That's gotta be traumatizing. It's gotta be something you never forget. And then Afro Man asks, you know, because he at one point he was FaceTiming with his wife, the police that were there, because they want him to open his safe so they wouldn't have to rip it up out of the floor and everything. And so he gives them the combination of the safe. There was nothing in the safe, like he didn't have anything. in there, and he asks the officer, he's like, okay, so am I under arrest? Like, is there a warrant for my arrest? Some officer's like, no, not at this time. He's like, am I being charged with anything? He's like, no. He's like, all right, well, y'all gonna help me fix my door? The door is on the floor. And apparently, according to Afro Man, in several interviews, he said over and over again that the officer, Randy Walter, looked at him and smiled and said, we're not required to do any of that. And Afro Man said he didn't know what he was gonna do at the time, but he knew he had to do something. He was just infuriated. It's one thing to do it. It's another thing to not apologize. It's an entirely different thing to seem like you enjoy it. And he had no idea what to do. I think a lot of us have been in that position before, where it's like people with power exercising it or abusing it, and getting some glee out of the fact that you can't do anything about it. And so he was like, what can I do? He said, I felt like a powerless black man in America. What can I do? I guess I could make songs about all of them. Afro Man came out with some songs specifically asking, are you gonna help me repair my door? Oh, go check it out, it's a banger. Afro Man also came out with a song called Lemon Pound Cake. Because like me, he noticed the distasteful looks this officer was giving the cake. Made a whole song about it. And then, in I guess not so much of a plot twist for, once again, the American justice system and how government works, the police were very upset with these songs. They're very, very upset. You know, Afro Man was out here calling people Gomer Pyle. He was saying the judge looked like Droopy, you know. He was over here disrespecting them, their families. He did his research. Anything he knew about them, he was putting out in the songs. Everybody was very mad, and what can we do? We already tore up his house. Dang, what can we do? And then Afro Man calls them all thieves because when they were doing the raid, they took all of his cash, right? This cash in his home. Because they're saying that this cash, if they find narcotics, if they find anything, like this is common in raids, where they're like, there's no way to say whether this cash is connected with the drugs that we may find, right? So they take the cash, they put it in evidence, they take it to the station, right? And when he shows up, after he's not been charged with anything, he's able to collect the evidence back that they took. And when he went to pick up his cash, he actually brought a news team with him. He brought like the local Fox News team just to make sure everything went well. Because he's like, these people clearly have no love for me. I'm not happy with them. And he said, I brought the local news with me not to make some sensational story. I was trying to not get Epstein or something. I don't know these people, and I've already seen what they're capable of doing, so he goes in there, gets his money back, and some of his money is missing. They took almost $5,000 in cash from his place, and when he got it back, he was $400 short, which is kind of a pathetic amount to steal. Like that, like, just, it would make more sense if you took his money and then he showed up and you were like, what money? Like that would track so much more than $400. This is weird. And so he makes these songs, he's calling the police thieves. You know, he's saying they came in my house and they stole from me. And then he makes songs about all of them. Says one of them looks like Gomer Pyle. Said the judge has signed the warrant looked like Droopy. Just letting them all have it. To the point where these officers got really upset. They were so angry. They were very mad. They were like, what can we do? We already tore up his house. And so these officers banded together, and they, in what feels like an odd attempt at justice, all got together and sued Afroman for defamation with his songs. And the problem with a defamation suit is you do have to explain how the thing hurt you. You do have to walk us through. Defamation is also hard to prove when you're a public official. You have to prove like intentional malice of something that is not true. Like opinion and parody won't necessarily get you defamation. And so this was a tough case because it's going to be hard for them to prove, but the fact that it's even going to trial feels uncomfortable because all he was doing was expressing himself through the First Amendment. And so the trial starts, and immediately it feels like a bit of a mistake. Because the officers suing him have to take the stand. And Officer Poundcake, who he had come to be called through the song, because these songs, okay, this is very important. These songs went viral at the time, but then they went viral again before the trial. And once again, imagine you're Afroman. They've already run up in your house. They've done $24,000 worth of damage to your property, right? And Afroman's out here trying to live a quiet life. He's not necessarily touring all the time or anything. He's not dropping like album after album after album all the time, you know? He's living seemingly just minding his business and everything. Not gonna be able to come up with $24,000 out of nowhere. I don't care what hit song you had. Maybe Mariah Carey with the Christmas. No. She eating good off of that one. That's the exception. But now you're being sued by the police for defamation, which has got to be terrifying because you were already up against the police initially. Afroman tried to sue the police at least for his damages, just to make himself even. But that suit was thrown out because it was a lawful raid. And so now you're being sued by these cops, and it feels like they have all the power because you're going into court, which usually only backs them up. So it's you against them. What do you do? What do you do? You know? I guess if you're Afroman, you release more songs leading up to the trial, which is a move. You could do that, yes. You could add to their case every day leading up to the trial. He dropped song after song after song. And then he's sitting there trying to defend himself in court. And they had Officer Poundcake on the stand. And the lawyers ask him, it's like, you've been called Officer Poundcake. And he's sitting there, because look, all the cops that took the stand are trying to act super hurt. They're trying to act devastated, right? So all of them are doing their best acting. And so he's sitting there and he's like, yes, I've been called it multiple times. And they've even had pound cakes delivered to the station. Hundreds of cakes. Which, yeah, when the song went viral, and I'm sure when it went viral all over again, people were sending pound cakes to the police station. The people were calling him Officer Poundcake. Imagine you're him. Imagine. Maybe you even have to go to another precinct to help out. Maybe there's some security detail you have to help on. Maybe it's another raid that you have to be involved in. And you show up because it wasn't just Afro Man. The police were also calling him Officer Poundcake. A lot. Imagine you show up to a raid, you strapped, you geared up and everything, and they're like, well, looky here. All right, Officer Poundcake, we are going to be doing a raid on a meth lab. Now, I know they're cooking in there, but it's not the type that you like. Be careful in there, Poundcake. We got your back. And not only did they ask about being called Poundcake and about getting pound cakes, I don't know. I'm just, for a second, I got distracted because I was just thinking about, like, what if he's like, I can't believe the cruelty shown to me, sending me all these pound cakes. You know, it was defamatory, it was disgusting, and it was delicious. It was everyone. That's terrible that you sending me all these cakes knowing I can't resist. Just sitting there, eating a pound cake. Look at what Afro Man did to me. Oh, it's the stickiest of the icky. It was so gooey. And so then they had a different officer on the stand. Everybody got a turn. But before they switched up, people giving their testimony, because it's such an important part of the trial and one of the root causes for defamation, they did have to play the entire song Lemon Pound Cake while he sat there and listened. This is the problem. Not since Drake have we seen a worse defamation suit where somebody just played themselves. This is terrible. He's sitting there listening to the whole song. They even played it a little slow so you can hear the lyrics. Getting his feelings hurt all over. And then he got off the stand, and then they went to this Officer Lisa. Now, Afro Man had given everybody a nickname, right? Called one officer Pound Cake, and Lisa, he called Lick 'em Low Lisa. I know. Went in on Lisa pretty hard. So the thing about listening to the songs is that Afro Man's known to go long in a song. Probably because he gets high. But the song Lick 'em Low Lisa is 13 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish it. I was like, I only saw a portion, but the portion I saw, I was like, all right, you got her, I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna. 13 minutes is a lot. And, you know, she was on the stand, and they played her song as well. 13 minutes of an entire song. And she had at least what I consider to be some crocodile tears, because once again, you have to, if you're trying to show defamation, you try and get a jury to believe you, got to seem upset. But the song made her cry initially, but the song is 13 minutes. 13 minutes is a very long time to pretend to cry. Even kids only got like 8 in them. You know what I mean? And so every time they hit the chorus, Lisa tried to cry harder. He'd say, lick 'em low, Lisa. Oh. Like, at a certain point, I need to see tears. I'm not gonna lie. And then she got off the stand. And then, an officer took the stand that Afro-Man said looked like Quasimodo. And when asked by the lawyer, like, you know, you said that you look like Quasimodo and that you're saying that that caused you harm and did damage, it, you know, disrupted your life and your reputation. And this man went, yeah. It's like that sound. I know that's not what Quasimodo sounded like in the movie, but it does sound like how he should have sounded, though. That's a crazy spot on the out. And he was like, but you understand that the song is a parody. Obviously, Quasimodo's a fictional character. Yeah. And the lawyer's like, well, you know, it's clearly a parody because Quasimodo's a fictional character. You know Quasimodo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. He's like, I don't know, I never watched it. And he's like, oh, okay, but it hurt your feelings? You experience extreme emotional distress. You're saying you've been defamed, but if you don't know the source material, how do you know it's not a good thing? Like, how do you... It's like when you're really... It's like when you're not smart and someone says a big word around you, so you take it as an insult. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean by fantastical? All right, you coming at me? Because we can square up if you feel like it. And then, Randy Walter. Randy Walter took the stand. Randy Walter, who looked at Afro-Man whenever they were FaceTiming and smiled at him and said, we're not required to do any of that. Takes the stand. And Afro-Man... A couple days before the trial started, Afro-Man released a song, as he does. And this song was called Randy Walter is an SOB. And in this song, Afro-Man says that he had slept with Randy Walter's wife. Now, if you're unfamiliar with hip-hop, this does happen where people claim to have slept with the wives of their enemies. But Randy took the stand, and Afro-Man's lawyer asked him, you know, so he's saying that he is, you know, slept with your wife, he has called you an SOB. But you understand that this is a song. That could be just an opinion, you know. He doesn't know you personally or anything. It could just be an opinion that you're an SOB. And then Randy's like, yes, you know, it could. And then Afro-Man's lawyer says, you know, Yeah, because there's no way to even verifiably prove that you're an SOB. And Randy, for some reason, says, no, sir, she's been dead for years. Randy! Randy, what's wrong with you, Randy? Randy, what are you thinking? Randy! And then after his lawyer immediately laughs immediately, like right in his face. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. I really am. Oh. But my client said that he slept with your wife in jest. Like he was making a parody of the situation. You know? And he's like, and it caused me extreme emotional distress. He's like, I understand that, but you know, he's doing a parody. This is what he does. He makes funny songs and everything. And there's also no validity to it. Like there's no proof that he slept with your wife. Then Randy, for some reason, says, I don't know. Randy! What do you mean you don't? Randy! This is also an insane thing to say because you're suing for defamation. But if you don't know if the thing isn't true, how can it be defamatory? I know the other cops also suing for defamation were sitting there like, Randy! Even if you think that's true, button up right now. What's wrong with you? And so the lawyer was like, wait, I'm sorry? You don't know if he slept with your wife? And Randy goes, I mean, I hope not. I mean, you know, we've been together 28 years. All right? Been with that woman since middle school. I would hope she wouldn't do anything like that. But once somebody puts it out like that, it's out. And once again, Afro Man's lawyer's like, wait, what's happening here? Like, oh, wait, are you telling me you can't verify whether or not, as a fact, it happened or not? And then Randy goes, oh, you want to go there? This is where you're going, Randy! Randy, we're following your lead. Randy, what are you doing? I'm sure Randy's lawyer was even like, Randy, what are you doing? Randy got off the stand. And there was another officer that took the stand, suing for defamation, remember? And he was the one that Afro Man said looked like Gomer Pyle. And that he had a receding hairline, hence the Gomer Pyle. And the lawyer asked what about these statements was defamatory. Which I know he has to ask for his job, but that's crazy. That's crazy. To be like, this person is suing for defamation, and then you get him on the stand, and then you're like, my client never lied, though. Look at him. Look at him, though. Look at And then he says, on the stand, was it defamation when he said that you look like Gomer Pyle? And he's like, no. Are you suing for defamation because he said you have a receding hairline? And he said, no. Which, receding is gracious. I'm just saying, that man's hairline is a secret. Ooh, no, you'll see. When you look at him, you'll see. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That man, when I saw him, I was like, hairline? No hairline. That man can't grow. You know, because the Afro man says, like, you 20 with a receding hairline. And I was like, ooh, I hope he's not 20. You'll know what I mean when you see him, but woof. Because he got one of those ones that it can only grow, like, right in the, like, back only. Like it's only growing in the past. Like it's... Like, my man can only grow a cape. Like, he can't. Receding was Christian of him. Receding is crazy. And then they had the cop take the stand. They had the cop take the stand who counted the money. This almost $5,000 with 400 missing. And they asked him about it because he's the one that wrote it on the bag and everything. It was a different officer where it was supposed to be in his possession the entire time, but they show on body cam footage of the actual officers that he left it. So, you know, Afro Man's being sued for calling them thieves. And he called them thieves collectively, but then they're all suing individually. Once again, for $3.9 million, they're all suing individually for being called thieves and being defamed. And they knew that the strongest case was the theft, because theft would be an actual, like, crime. It could ruin your reputation as an officer and everything. And all the other stuff is just too funny, I guess, to throw in there. But they put him on the stand, and this man, basically, the way I interpret it, gets up there and in not so many words, but a very long testimony, admits to everyone, I can't count, y'all. Like that, That's rough. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a 5, sometimes it's a 2 with a 0 behind it. Like, what are we doing? This man couldn't count to almost 5,000 with some increments of like 100, you know? And then they had another officer take the stand that explained what happened. And they're like, actually, when you watch the security cam footage, you hear him count out loud. I'm not trying to shame anybody. We all spell and count at our own pace. But if you grown and counting out loud and not a cashier, you might be struggling. This man was counting out loud for everyone. And look, maybe that's protocol. Maybe that's what he's supposed to do so that there are witnesses to how much money he's counting. Maybe, right? But he said if you watch the footage, you can hear him kind of start to count wrong. And nobody stops him. So there's a chance that the police didn't steal any money. They just horrifically miscounted it. And I honestly can't decide what's worse, a corrupt cop or a dumb cop, because either way, everyone in this case, Randy, Lisa, Pound Cake, the one that can't count, everybody has or had a gun. That's crazy. Can you count the bullets? It's devastating. And so the defense only calls one witness. And it was one of the officer's ex-wives. Because one of the claims that he made towards defamation and towards, pain and suffering is that these songs, this music, this supposed art that Afroman was doing destroyed his marriage. You broke us up. You made me a laughing stock. She can't be with a laughing stock. You ruined my marriage. My wife left me. And so then his ex-wife takes a stand. And the lawyer asked, did the music that was released by my client, did you take any of it seriously at all? And she was like, no. It's like, did you feel like any of it was causing a rift between you two? Did my client's music break up your marriage? And she was like, no. And that's gotta be rough, to sit there and watch your ex-wife on the stand be like, nah, it was him. It was all him. It was actually him through and through. There was nothing else that came in between. It was just, I was married to him, which is what makes you not want to be married to him. And then Afroman took the stand. And Afroman, by the way, had been showing up every day to court. He'd been showing up in an American flag suit that looks like a Kid Rock fever dream. This suit wasn't just the American flag. Like, it wasn't one flag. It was 12,000 flags. Probably had flags in flags. Had a flag tie on. He even had sunglasses on that had like a foil of them, of the American flag. Showed up, afro all picked out and everything, looking pristine, spherical. Takes the stand. And, the lawyers for the cops tried to come at him hard. Try to be like, so what gives you the right to defame my clients? And he was like, the First Amendment gives me the right to do everything that I did. I took my bad time. I made a good time out of it. I made funny songs. I didn't try to retaliate or anything. They're the ones that knocked down my door, caused damage to my house. They're the ones that turned my life upside down. I tried to make something good out of it. If they had never raided my house and they were never there, they wouldn't have been on my cameras. I wouldn't know their names. There wouldn't be these songs. It's really their fault when you think about it. And he just let them have it. Every time that they tried to put it on him, he reminded them, oh, what was I under arrest for again? I don't even have a basement. And then both sides had their closing arguments. And that's when it would be hard, in my mind, to be a lawyer. Like, imagine you're defending Afroman in this case, and you've had a ton of fun. There's even been some surprises. You're like, wait. Did you sleep with his wife? Because, that was a very weird part of the trial. Because that testimony went so off the rails that he was like, so, are you upset because he's making something private a public matter? And then Randy goes, Yeah, if my wife was sleeping with him, it would be a private matter. I'm starting to think this happened, Randy. Randy, if this did not happen, they should never let Randy take the stand ever again. You won't know if a crime was committed or not. Like, but yeah, you're the lawyer for Afroman. Wrapping up the trial, it'd be so hard. It'd be incredibly difficult to not just make your closing argument. Y'all, I mean, look, like. And so next day, Afroman shows up to court, been in the suit. Can't stress this suit enough. I haven't seen one like it before. I'll never see one like it again. He must have been hot in that suit. There's no way. Gotta be burning up in that suit. And to top it all off, he had a mink coat on. A white mink coat. And yeah, the jury decided pretty quickly that there was no defamation. It was fantastic. You know, Afroman doesn't have to pay that money. Everybody can go about their way. And we got some great songs. Because I think one of the reasons so many people were rooting for him, and people who you wouldn't even think, this was almost like across the board. Even the people who usually defend cops no matter what they do were really in favor of Afroman winning. Because, especially now, it feels like the First and Second Amendment are just sort of a suggestion for certain people. And anyone else gets their rights violated in real time because it's the idea of lawfulness. What do you really do if someone with authority is in your face violating your rights? Well, there's nothing you can do until it goes to court, and some people don't even get that court date. Some people just have an abuse of power happen right in front of them, and then they have to do the best they can to go on with their lives. We watch it all the time, especially now. You know, I won't say it's at an all-time high because there are some people where this has been their reality for their entire lives, and some people are just catching up because it does affect all of us. You know, you even saw in videos from a couple months ago where protesters were talking to ICE officers, and ICE officer even said out loud on camera, "This is crazy." It floored me. If you raise your voice, I erase your voice. Threatened to kill this person for talking loud. You raise your voice, I erase your voice. Said it twice on camera. That's crazy. That's even crazier than staring at a pound cake too long on security cam. Yeah. Because a lot of us have felt the way Afroman felt, where what do you do? What do you do? These people have come into your home, or they've just violated you in some way, and they have the law on their side. That's terrifying. What do you do? I think the best way to sum it up is what Afroman said, you know? When life gives you lemons, make lemon pound cake. You all been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
Hey friends, I'm going to be hosting The Daily Show again this week, October 7th, 8th, and 9th, Tuesday through Thursday. And I want to take a quick second to say thank you, because the last time I hosted, my very first time, so many of you tuned in, you told people, TiVoed if that's still a thing. So many people watched that we actually set a ratings record. And that was really, really special because I love Daily Show. I love all of you, and to be able to bring those two things together, to be able to set records your very first time doing something is special, but to do it with you was incredible. I look forward to bringing these Daily Show shows to you this week and the video, because you're already watching. You might as well keep watching. Just let it play. I'll see you.
Give it up for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if y'all seen, but people are losing their minds. People are losing their minds because Bad Bunny is gonna be doing the Super Bowl halftime show. This is incredible. The level of upset. You ever see somebody get so mad that you're like, this is just weird? Like, not even, we're past like the levels of angry I expect you to get, and we're into a new realm where it knocks me out of even any sort of reactionary response. I'm more just like, are you okay? One time, I was at a McDonald's, right? And this dude, he must have wanted the pickles that come with the sandwich. They come with the sandwich. He got a hamburger, comes with a pickle. His hamburger didn't have a pickle. And I don't know what else was happening in his life. Maybe he usually handles disappointment very well. Maybe they caught him on the wrong day. Maybe they... You know what I mean? Maybe this man's been through a lot, and this is finally the thing that made him snap. This is possible. Everybody has their line. Everybody has their limit. And some people's limit, you wish that your limit would come when it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? You want your limit to come when something actually happens. You know? Like, you want your limit to come when it's like, maybe you've lost your job, you don't know what you're gonna do next, rent is due, and your dad is passed, and it's just all happening at one time, and then you lose it. That's when everybody would understand you losing it. But instead of losing it when you're supposed to lose it, some people stay strong. They don't let on that they're about to lose it. And so then they go to McDonald's. And they order a burger. And then they realize their burger doesn't have a pickle, and then all the injustice in the world comes out. All at once in this McDonald's. And so now you're screaming in front of a bunch of strangers because you don't have a pickle. And we all know that you don't have the pickle, not because you opened the sandwich to check, just in case you were like, hey, is the world fair today where there'll be a pickle on my sandwich? No, you know there's not a pickle because you ate half the sandwich and you haven't hit pickle yet. And so you finally open the sandwich, just give it a look. Be like, maybe this is a slippery one. Maybe this pickle's sneaky. You know, they supposed to put it on top of the cheese before the bun, maybe under the condiments, but maybe this one, oof. Maybe this one's sneaking in there between the meat and the cheese. Who knows, right? And then you open the sandwich, you realize you've had no pickle. You realize you've been looking forward to pickle this entire hamburger, and it was never gonna come. It was never gonna come. It was never gonna come, just like your job isn't coming back, just like... No, it's all coming back in real time. It's like the pickle is almost this unintentional metaphor, like the pickle is missing the way your father is missing in your life because he's gone now. And so you just start letting it all out. It just comes out. You start screaming at someone behind the counter who is 17. Just someone who is beginning their life. Someone who has the whole world ahead of them. And you used to have the whole world ahead of you as well. But then life happened and it came at you so fast you weren't sure what you were doing when you were doing it. And so now at home you have somebody that you're married to that like y'all are almost like strangers passing in the hallway, and you have 2 kids, but you don't really see yourself in them at all. And so now you wonder if maybe you were too hard on your dad and you wish you could tell him that, but he's gone. And so is the pickle. The pickle's not in there. The pickle is supposed to be here, right? And that's why you end up screaming at this 17-year-old at the top of your lungs to the point where people are recording you on their phone, which is never great. Your life never gets better after that. That's never the beginning of something wonderful. It means you're probably about to lose the next job before you even get it because you've lost your job and you're going to apply for more. You might even apply here. They won't hire you. But the next job you apply for, they're going to look this up. They're going to put your name in Google, and then this video will come up of you screaming at this 17-year-old that you accidentally called dad. And that's a tough part about not snapping at the right time. If you had snapped 15 minutes ago at home, everybody would get it. Somebody might even hug you. But now you're in McDonald's and they're just calling the police. Oh. No, it's tough. It's tough. What I'm trying to say is people have snapped over Bad Bunny doing the Super Bowl halftime show, a no pickles in my hamburger at McDonald's amount. And it is stressful to watch. I understand why the NFL's doing. The NFL is trying to expand its reach and everything. What better way than with Bad Bunny? But Bad Bunny is over here, like he's defiant in a way that I think is very special. Because Bad Bunny is doing this like record-breaking tour right now. And he's not doing it in the US, you know? And I think a lot of people can't handle that. A lot of people are like they're like, why won't he come? Why won't he do MSG? Why won't he? And it's like, and you know, he's been asked about it in interviews, and he said a couple things that also are gonna irk exactly who he's trying to irk. Because they asked him, like, why aren't you touring? We looked at the dates. Where's Chicago? Where's LA? Where's New York? You know? And why aren't you touring in the US? And then he said, because it's just not necessary. Not necessary to tour in the center of the universe, according to us. Not necessary. Ooh, that was a gut punch. Not necessary. Ooh. Don't worry, I'll be making plenty of money around the world. You know the rest of the world. Like literally. They had other people ask him. And he was like, hey, look, I don't do shows here right now because I don't need ICE hanging outside of my shows trying to do some sort of sting or something like that. I want my people to be safe and everything. In fact, if you want to see me bad enough, I'll be doing a bunch of shows in Puerto Rico. You can come to Puerto Rico. And plenty of people were like, Puerto Rico? Where's that? Because it's actually terrifying. It is like bone-chilling scary how many people who live in the U.S., like U.S. citizens that don't know what land the U.S. has. It's like, I don't know what civics class or what, is it just geography? How are we failing the youth and the elderly? Like, it's like, because it's not like you can just blame it on the kids. Grown people also don't know.
This is crazy. All right, look, just bring you up to speed, okay? Real quick. And I'm not judging anybody because I might even have the dates wrong, okay? But in 1898, at the end of the Spanish-American War, America got Puerto Rico. So already, territory, Puerto Rico, right? 1917, Puerto Ricans gained U.S. citizenship. 1952, Puerto Rico became like a sort of commonwealth, which I guess a lot of people miss because like we don't have a king or we didn't have a king or like whatever, but like, but just like simple, that's the status. So if you are Puerto Rican, you are a U.S. citizen, okay? And that is also why when people were upset, they were like, why can't somebody from America do the halftime show? And look. Listen to me. The people screaming that are coming from a very specific place. They have watched the Super Bowl religiously, and the last few years have watched it get blacker. And I understand. After Kendrick, they were like, it's black now. Is it finally black enough? You blacked it. You did it. It's been blacked. All right? That's enough. It's been black, and I watched it. I didn't get it. But it was black, and you had it. Can we have one? Because I don't think you're gonna get blacker. So it's gotta be our turn again. And they thought, surely, their time was coming. You know? After Kendrick, next one gotta be, you know what I mean? Yeah. Next one gotta be the one that does that song with the twang to it that you really like. Gotta be. Come on, we even, look, you did it. So I did all that rapping. I let rapping in my house just because it was a Super Bowl halftime show. That's as black as gonna get. I refuse to let it get any blacker, all right? These people were like, it can't possibly get blacker. And then they were like, all right, I'll raise you no English. Oh, you think you're mad now? Oh, we gonna make you pray for Kendrick. We gonna make you. Oh, Kendrick, please hit us with some symbolism. I don't even understand what's going on now. Oh, no, this is so funny. They're so mad. They're mad in a way that's like, I don't even know, like even if I wanted to help, I wouldn't even know where to start. Because what are you so mad about? It's like, because it's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl. It's not Spanish Bowl. It's Super Bowl. What's next? I love what's next, by the way. People love to take a thing that's actually happening and then do a hypothetical that'll never happen off of what's next. You see Bad Bunny's doing Super Bowl halftime. What's next? You gonna make Superman Mexican? That's what's next. That's definitely gonna happen. What's next? What's next? You know what I mean? What's that? Because it's scary. It's scary. You know, you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, these people might, by accident, learn some Spanish. Then what's next? If I learn the Spanish, what's next? If I learn the Spanish, what happens then? Because if I learn the Spanish, then when people are speaking Spanish, I'll know what they're saying, and there's no way they're saying anything nice about me. But no, people losing their minds. I can't believe it. Spanish? He's gonna speak Spanish? I'm gonna have to sit there and listen to somebody sing and rap in Spanish? I already had to listen to rap. You know what that was like for me? You know what that was like for me to hear rap in between the game I bet on? I'm gonna have to sit there and listen to somebody Spanish. I'm gonna have to sit there listening, watching the Super Bowl halftime show to Spanish. I'm gonna have to sit there with my guacamole and my chips in my lap, listening to Spanish. I am gonna have to sit there while I eat the tacos that I Uber Eats to my place, listening to Spanish. The idea that I could have a deluxe crunch wrap and have to listen to Spanish is crazy. Not in my America. Spanish? Are you serious? I can't believe I'm gonna have to listen. I want all the Spanish in my mouth. I don't want it in my ear. Which has like pretty much been the approach of a large portion of the U.S. for a long time. So much of the culture, so much of what people like about a culture that they're willing to take in, they try to do as best as possible to the exclusion of the people that the culture's actually from, right? So you'll see how people of Latin descent have been treated in this country the entire time while we fall in love with more and more and more of their stuff. You know what I mean? And it's something that obviously happens to black people. It's something that's happened to Asian Americans and everything, but it's something that doesn't always get addressed is that if you loved what we make, then just love us. We made it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing to love almost every aspect of a culture and then meet the person who created that culture and be like, I don't know if I trust you though. I just kind of want all your stuff at my house. It's like, oh, I love that thing that you do. I'd probably just take it. What if I took it and then pretend it was mine? Wouldn't that be dope? What if I take it so hard that one day I tell you about it? No, I tell you about it and then I tell you you're doing it wrong because it's actually... No, what if you have your entire culture with a different understanding of everything, a different understanding of the world because it's from a different lens and it's also from perspective of a people who have built a very rich heritage and everything. And what if one day I stop by, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I'll take some of that. And then when I say it back to you, and you're like, that's actually not how you say it, I'm like, I think I know how to say it. All right, I'm very familiar with the Latin X culture, all right? Huh. Please, that's sweet of you to try to help me, but I'm well-versed. Oh. That's wild, because that was the laugh. All right. No, because you see, Bad Bunny moves in a way that's very intentional, and he has the loyalty of his fans and his people because of how he moves. Because there are plenty of people that truly, and I'm not saying this from a place of judgment, I'm saying it just from noticing. There are people who truly forget where they come from as soon as they get success. It is a very, sadly, once again, it's a very American mindset to have that as long as you get taken care of, as long as you're okay, you can leave whatever behind, And you're out now. And you're out, you made it out. And then you start to rationalize in your head, well, if I made it out, then people just have to do what I did to make it out. I'm not special. Then they'll be able to take care of themselves. And then all of a sudden you're gone. And there's not a real building of community. There's no upward mobility for the people around you. You just up and win, right? And look, it's also a very hard thing to do to try to bring everybody with you. Plenty of people have gone bankrupt trying to do so. You see us like, and I've done it from time to time. I'm not innocent of this thing. So once again, I'm not judging. But you see us with entertainers and athletes, we'll judge them for like going broke quickly, and we always make the assumption it was because they made stupid decisions. Maybe they bought one chain, and then we're like, well, they were out here buying chains, and so now they're broke, and so. But more often than not, what happens, and what a lot of people don't talk about, what a lot of people don't give them credit for, is one of the reasons that they went broke is that this new money, it's a lot of money, but this new money tried to bring everyone with them at the same time. We're not able to set up systems for everybody to succeed. And so then everybody was broke in like 5 years' time. It's because of their heart that they were broke. It's because of their intention to try to bring everybody with them that they aren't in some mansion somewhere, Essentially, you had something like that happen to MC Hammer. There were a lot of people that hear how much money MC Hammer made and then how much he lost, and they thought to themselves, oh, he must have been balling out or something. He probably deserved to lose all that money. Then you hear interviews with MC Hammer. He talks about his business and everything. He talks about the people that he hired. This man hired family. He hired friends from the hood. Just try to give them jobs, either to keep them out of trouble or just get them some money, because he knew that they would do the right things with their money. But he's one man. He's one man, and eventually you can't have all these people on the payroll. You can't have all this money going out when not enough is coming in, when not enough is coming back, and so eventually you do lose everything. So it's an admirable thing, and it's a smart thing to say, hey, if you want to see me, come spend your money here. Come to Puerto Rico. You can come do the shows. Anybody can come. We'll have a good time here. You see Bad Bunny thinking ahead. I'm not going to do shows in a place that has these like ICE raids and everything, because also in Chicago, there was an ICE raid of this apartment complex. And in the apartment complex, they grabbed everybody. They grabbed everybody in the worst way. They zip-tied kids. They zip-tied kids. Some kids, scared, crying, terrified. Nobody knew what was happening. They entered the building with flashbangs and everything, all because they said that they were there for, I think, like 6 members of some gang. Trend Day Aragua, I'm trying to pronounce it the way the president pronounces it. Trinidad. They were there for them. And look, I don't even know if that's true because apparently they didn't show anybody any warrants, you know? So maybe that's just something they said for later after they went ahead and did the raid, but they zip tied, they held black and brown people alike, you know? And that's the other thing. It's like pretending that somebody's fight is not your fight is only going to work for so long. Like, pretending something is not your problem will make it your problem very soon. Because already Supreme Court has pretty much ruled that ICE can profile so they can grab who they need to grab, right? And it's like, okay, well, what does an American look like to the people who are grabbing people? You know what I mean? Because, I don't know, I feel like I have some pretty good diction. But I could probably still get zip ties. You know, if we're going off of looks, it won't really matter that I'm like, sir, please, I'm an American citizen. Because you see what's happening. You see what's happening now with ICE in Chicago. You see what's happening even with the announcement that Bad Bunny is going to be doing the Super Bowl. You have, what is it, Corey Lewandowski saying that ICE is going to be at the Super Bowl as well. And it's like, all right, but what's the point of that? What's the point? Because you know all of the criminal illegal aliens, because that's what they're supposed to be about, right? You know all the criminal illegal aliens every year that score tickets to the Super Bowl. You know. You can't swing a stick without running into a criminal illegal alien with Super Bowl tickets. You know criminal illegal aliens love the Super Bowl. They love rolling up to a Super Bowl. Got my tickets right here. And no other form of identification. You know criminal illegal aliens. They can't stop going to the Super Bowl. In fact, every year I'm like, when are they gonna do something about these criminal illegal aliens enjoying the game while I'm sitting at home because the tickets are like $10,000 just to see. Can't stand criminal illegal aliens having all the money. And using it on the Super Bowl. That's an irresponsible purchase. You're not even supposed to be here, Mr. Criminal Illegal Alien, and you going to the Super Bowl instead of hard-working Americans that can't afford to go to the Super Bowl. And we should know that, like, no one is coming to save us in that way. This is everybody's problem, and there's not enough of a travesty. There won't be enough rights that are violated. There won't be enough unconstitutional things happening that's just gonna make the people doing it go, whoops. That's not gonna happen. They're not just gonna stop. You know, they zip-tied kids. Kids who were born here. Because this was never about what they said it was about. You know? I look at ICE the way I look at, like, season 6 of Ghost Hunters. You're looking, but you're not gonna find what you're looking for because you made it up, you know? It's a very scary thing. Because don't get me wrong, look, plenty of ICE agents are over here masked up, top to bottom. Can't identify who they are. It's not like they're wearing a badge. It's not like they have their name, all over them or just on the front or anything like that. And some of them clearly built like stormtroopers. And then some are built like mall cops. Like there's a couple. I don't know if you saw that video of that young man that was running from ICE and hopped on his bike and rode away, but at a certain amount of running, you have to accept that you didn't catch the person. And as someone who had friends that got into trouble, I've watched my fair share of mall cop chases. And these mall cop chases, I don't have them on my phone. They're from memory. They're up here. But they usually start a similar way. They usually start with, what's that? What'd you say to me? And then, just far enough away, they say it again. And so then, mall cop leans forward, and then whether you're on your skateboard or you're on foot, you start making some moves. And as you run, they run. And when they run, they realize they shouldn't run. It's a battle. It's a battle for them to run. And you can tell because the kick, okay, I'm not a runner. I'm not an athlete in that way, but I'll tell you right now that okay. When you watch runners, when you watch like a Usain Bolt, like an Olympic runner, and they start off and they have, a foot up and everything, got the foot on, the hands down, looking up. And then, I don't know why they put the butt up. You see they put the butt up and they're down, but then they're like, ugh. I know this isn't true. But when I was little, a friend told me that they do that so that they can fart before they run. It's clearly not real. But he's like, no, you don't want that air getting out and it knocking you off course. It didn't sound true when I was 7, but I did believe it for like 2 years. Because I was like, they do it every time. I don't know. Then, get down, they get up, they do that thing. I'm not doing it right. They do that thing. And then they fire off the gun, and then they're like sliding at first, and then they just shoot off. They're running so fast, right? And when a mall cop starts to run, it's similar but different. Because he will do this. But that's because he almost fell. He got knocked off balance reaching for you. All right? So now he... And then he does like kick up a little bit. That is a fart. And then he starts to take off and chase you. The problem is, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens when you take up the badge of mall enforcer. I don't know what happens to your right foot. I don't know what happens to your left foot. But they stop speaking to one another. And in these mall cop chases, I've seen plenty of them kick off, up. Into a food court table. And that's what it looked like, because my man kicked off on the bike and started, he wasn't even pedaling fast at first. Still seemed like he was talking. Do you know how embarrassing that is to run after somebody who isn't even breaking enough of a sweat to stop talking to you? And then they also ran after this man for too long. At a certain amount of somebody getting away, you gotta just let them get away. The clip became more embarrassing because they kept running. I'm like, now he on the bike, now he pedaling. You didn't catch him when he was pushing a bike. You're not gonna catch him when he's on a bike. There's a huge difference between those two things. Pushing a bike, he all encumbered. He gotta figure out when to like throw the leg over and everything. Now he's on the bike. He's gone. He's gone. The only thing that could make that video more perfect is that dude, And he pedaled all the way to the Super Bowl halftime show. Anaheim, y'all been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Mira, 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 mira.